Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft, here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
That's it. The Lakers are done. You just lost Jared Dudley, and LeBron was devastated last night on Twitter. That poor man just can't get a break.
You know, I thought you were going to say something else. My Cowboys season is over. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Well, that's the first topic, right? We're going to spend the next 20 minutes.
But you know that, though, right?
I don't know that.
I just can't believe you mentioned the Lakers. I thought, Skip, you were going to be all in about your Cowboys because we finally had an episode that started with that guy, Jerry Jones. And that is where we begin the show. Last night's Hard Knocks took a good amount of time to focus on Jerry, from his history with the team and a drone tour of the new Star facility to arriving via helicopter to the Cowboys' first home preseason game and getting chants for Jerry from crowds. There was a lot of attention on the team's owner. But here's the question. Shannon, will the Cowboys ever win another Super Bowl with Jerry in charge?
No. Skip, again, how did anything that they led up into Hard Knocks, the first 5 minutes, how does that help the Cowboys win a Super Bowl? Now, since they last won the Super Bowl 25 years ago, they've won exactly 4 playoff games, and they haven't advanced to the NFC Championship game. And I can assure you, so is Jerry Jones willing to do more now than he was then? Absolutely not. Jerry's going to do the exact same thing, and the reason why they're not winning a Super Bowl is because he can't stop meddling. Skip, he can't help himself. Skip, Jerry is good. Don't let Jerry fool you. Yeah, sure, he would like to win, but Jerry like adding them zeros. Skip, what was that star about? What was the drone tour? How did it tell me? I just want you to tell me.
The drone tour was amazing footage.
It was amazing.
I was like taken on a ride into the Star that I thought was inconceivable to pull off, and they pulled that off. But they showed you the magnitude of Jerry's kingdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now tell me how they help you win a championship.
Maybe it helps you recruit free agents. I don't know.
And there's nobody going to say, man, I gotta go play for the Cowboys, man, because you know, but they got this state-of-the-art facility, and they got these luxury high-rise and all this going on. That ain't how guys ain't thinking about that, Skip. They want to win. Jerry's in the way meddling. He's sitting in on coaches. Really, Skip? So what did you hire Mike McCarthy for? What is all these guys that you hired to do a job? What is their job if you're sitting in there overseeing them, micromanaging them, doing their job? What is that about? Jerry keeps saying, and Jerry convinced his fan, man, you heard what Jerry? Jerry said he'll spend any amount of money. Jerry do anything except stay out of the way. When I was a little boy, Skip, my brother tell you this. My grandfather used to give me $1 a day. You know what he paid me for, Skip?
That was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. Yeah. But guess what he was paying me for, Skip? To stay out of the way. Because he said, Shannon, you might get hurt. I couldn't do it, Skip. I couldn't get the dollar that he would pay me just to stay out of the way. All Jerry has to do is stay out of the way, Skip, and he can't. He cannot do it. And therein lies the problem. Really, the difference is this management, ownership, and how they do business. You think Mr. Kraft sitting in there looking over Coach Belichick's shoulder? You think Clark Hunt looking over Andy Reid's shoulder? You think Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, looking over John Harbaugh's shoulder? And Eric DeCosta? Absolutely not. He's like he tell you. Steve will tell you, I hired him to do a job. If I can't trust him to do a job, I need to get somebody else in that position. That's the only problem, Skip. You know it. And it hasn't been the same. They had an opportunity, and yeah, he got a little revisionist history. You know, he started thinking about it. You know, I probably should have put my ego aside and yada, yada, yada when Jimmy was going into the Hall of Fame. Yep. But you and I both know he don't mean that. He's only second-guessing himself because he thought he was going to have a boatload of it. I got 2,500 coaches that can coach this team. And you won 1 Super Bowl. And you had all of those Hall of Famers in their absolute prime, and you only had 1 more Super Bowl to show for it. So, Skip, I don't believe they're going to win a championship. And unfortunately for you, you're going to have to deal with me until they do.
We're just going to win the division. That's all we have. Okay, my turn.
That'll count.
I know Jerry Jones very well. I'll say it again. I spent literally hundreds of hours around him as I wrote my 3 books on the Dallas Cowboys. And yet, as I sat back watching Hard Knocks last night, watching Jerry reign over his kingdom, reign over the most valuable team in all of sports, including all these soccer/football teams all over the world. This is the most valuable
even the
franchise.
Yankees.
Way over the Yankees. Jerry Jones, speaking of the Yankees, has become the most famous owner in the history of sports, and it ain't even close anymore. He has made us forget about George Steinbrenner, who once upon a time reigned over the New York Yankees, or Ted Turner, maybe before your time, reigning over Atlanta
with
because
the Braves.
He had his own TV network.
See it?
Yep. And yet Jerry was basking last night.
Yeah.
This is why he readily accepted, yeah, we'll do Hard Knocks, because he knew he was going to get one big vanity episode. And this was it. This was Jerry in all of his glory. You could see his egomania on display from start to finish.
Yep.
So I was in awe of watching Jerry Jones, but I was also in mourning, because I do agree with your final conclusion. Your takeaway is it's just going to be so difficult for this franchise to overcome him as the still current owner and operator of the Cowboys, as the general manager, hands-on, running the football part of the franchise.
Yep.
And the most shocking and horrifying scene was about a 2-second shot very early in last night's episode 3, in which they flash and pan around the room of a day after preseason game coaches meeting, in which they are evaluating the performances of various players all the way down to the 3rd and 4th stringers.
Right.
And all the coaches are gathered in the big, giant coaches meeting room. And as we pan around the room, I see Jerry Jones sitting right in the middle of the front row of the coaches with his head down taking notes. What are you doing? Seriously? Listen, I did in my second Cowboy book give him credit, some credit that Jimmy despised him getting over the building of that first Super Bowl team, because Jerry was instrumental in pulling off the move of 1992 that put them over the top, and that was the great Charles Haley, acquiring him right out from under a conference rival at that point, the San Francisco 49ers and Carmen Policy. And they had had enough, more trouble than he's worth, and they traded him to the up-and-coming biggest threat to the 49ers of, at that point, Steve Young.
Right.
And here came the Cowboys, because they finally had somebody you could not block coming off the edge.
I'm not so sure the Cowboys might have been the only locker room that could handle him.
Okay, you could be right. And, you know, Jimmy contributed to that, and Michael Irvin contributed to that, and finally even Barry Switzer, where he just connected with Charles. But the point was, that worked. And Jerry's fingerprints were all over that move, because he's a plunger. He's a salesman. He can figure things out. But that wasn't really a football analysis move. He didn't have to decide Charles A was good. He just, everybody knew Charles A was good,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so last night it struck me that this man has gone completely over the edge into egomania.
Right.
Did you see the footage of him walking out to the first open practice where they filled their little stands? I think they hold like 12,000 people there at the Star, indoors, but they packed the stands, and you could see Jerry, Stephen, and Jerry Jr. They're becoming chips off the old block. They're going to be hard to handle also, because they're just going to slowly take over from Dad, right? So the 3 of them are walking out into the crowd, and boy, we got a full house. We got a great crowd. And Jerry walks out, and they are chanting, Jerry, Jerry. And I'm thinking, Springer? No, Jones. It's Jerry Jones they're chanting for.
He loved it.
He's just eating it up. He's basking. You can just see him. He's just basking. They're chanting my name. And it made me hark back to that moment that I first met him, that night in 1989, the Saturday Night Massacre, it was called, in Dallas, when Jerry somehow bought the Cowboys out from under far more deep-pocketed investors trying to buy the team at that point, in large part because the former owner, Bum Bright, decided to pick this interloper from Arkansas, this quote-unquote hick from the sticks, because the hick from the sticks wanted to fire Tom Landry, and Bum Bright did not like Tom Landry because he had cold-shouldered him the whole time that Bum had owned the team.
Coach Landry was a god.
Okay, well, he was a god, but he was a arm's length god. You don't come. He wouldn't even give him the time of day. Bum Bright told me for my book at Christmas parties. Wouldn't acknowledge him. And Bum, when he first met him, tried to actually suggest a play that he might run in a game.
No.
That was the end of that deal, right?
That was a no-no.
Okay, so that's the Jerry Jones that I got to know early on. That was the Jerry who, the day he was allowed to buy the team, had to get on his private jet, fly from Dallas to Austin, Texas, to find Tom Landry, who was on the 14th hole, just playing golf at his country club in Austin, Texas, played at the University of Texas, obviously. They had to pull him off the golf course, and they came in, and he took him into the sales office of the addition that he lived in, and sat him down because it was a Saturday and nobody was in there at the moment, and he sat him down and told him, Coach, I'm moving in a new direction with my guy, Jimmy Johnson. I played with him at the University of Arkansas, blah, blah, blah. And that was Jerry's, like, it was Christmas Eve for Jerry at the press conference that night, while Dallas was in mourning over the loss of Tom Landry.
Correct.
So Jerry got off to a horrible start. And yet Jerry's never had any shame at all. No. Jerry just like, damn the torpedoes, I'm going forward. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of Giannis shooting air balls from the free throw line or from three. He'll shoot air balls, and it just doesn't bother him a bit. He'll come right down and jack up another one. And maybe it'll go in, and maybe he'll make 12 in a row. Yeah. That's Jerry Jones, because he has no shame. If he, as he often says, F's it up, he just throws up his, I'm a billionaire. I got the most valuable team in sports. What do I care? We'll get him again next game. We'll get him tomorrow. We'll get him next year, right? So they just keep doing the same things over and over again. And I was also horrified by comments he made a week ago when he said, you know, I am 78 years of age. He turns 79 on October 13. But the point is, he's saying, I feel great. I'm on top of it. I have no plans to back off. So he is, for the foreseeable future, he is going forward as the owner and the operator of this franchise. So to me, it has become more about Jerry's ego, Jerry promoting Jerry, than winning. That's even, like you always make it about the dollars. Well, he's way past the dollars to me, because I don't know how much money you could have. He's like richer than God, as they say, right? He's got money. You want to talk about generational wealth for that clan?
Exactly.
They've got it. And yet, why would he want to sell the Cowboys for billions of dollars? This is his life.
No, he's interwoven into the Cowboys. The Cowboys are him, and he's
going to keep it in the family.
That's never going. Someone couldn't come in and offer Jerry $20 billion to sell the Cowboys, because the Cowboys are worth more. It's something that money can't buy. It gives him a level of prominence that he can't get with money. He owns the Cowboys. And Skip, when he's in the meetings, Jerry is not watching film to look at the swing tackle or the third cornerback. That's not what he's doing. He's got notes from that the coaches have taken over the course of the week and passed out to him, and he has people thinking like, oh man, Jerry be knowing. No, he doesn't. Jerry is not studying tape up in his room in his office at night.
No, he's not. And they were talking about that, the kid from Mexico, that Alarcon, who's trying to make it off the practice squad. Obviously, it was a good part. They have great little inside stories about lesser-known players that probably won't have much to do with the Dallas Cowboys, but that's what makes Hard Knocks Hard Knocks.
Correct.
But the point is, that's who they were evaluating. Jerry's like taking notes on him, like, I got to know this. And he's taking notes so he can have all the information for his 2 radio gigs that he does. So if he gets asked about a player, he's got the inside stuff on him because he heard it from the coaches. Right? And it reminds me of all the way back to that opening night press conference. What was his most infamous line? I'm going to know everything about the Cowboys down to the socks and jocks. He's still all about the socks. He wants to know about the socks and the jocks. And the other story he told me that you'll get a kick out of is how he came to buy the Dallas Cowboys in the first place. Was he had he went broke in the oil fields, and then he kept plunging, just the way Giannis keeps shooting free throws, And he hit one, and then he hit another one, and suddenly he got rich quick again.
Right.
And he got so rich that he got bored. And so he and Stephen went to an oil and gas convention in San Diego, of all places. They got bored at the convention, and they said, they got their private jet.
Right.
Let's just go to Cabo, which is not that far. It's just, it's like a 20-minute, 10-minute flight. I don't know what it is.
About an hour.
Maybe an hour. Okay, so they fly down to Cabo. And the first night, Stephen says, let's go to this bar. It's called the Giggling Marlin. And the whole point of the bar for turistas, is that you go and they'll hang you upside down at the bar like a marlin would be, and you can drink all the beer you want if you drink it upside down. So you know Jerry, he's going to participate in that because he's the life of the party. And he drank a little too much, and he was so hungover the next morning, Stephen was going on a deep-sea fishing expedition way out into the ocean, and Jerry said, there's no way I can handle that. I'm staying back. And he said, I had like one eye open, and I'm reading a 2-day-old edition of the San Diego paper, and I see a note. Dallas Cowboys are for sale, and the brokerage is Salomon Brothers in New York City. He picks up the phone and cold calls Salomon Brothers and says, and this is the quote, "You don't know me, but I'm Jerry Jones, and I'm going to buy the Dallas Cowboys." Well, he pulled it off. I don't know how he pulled it off. He was lucky. He was at the right place at the right time. He presented the right case to Bum Bright. I'm bringing Jimmy Johnson. I don't want Tom Landry going forward. I don't want Tex Schramm going forward. And he pulled it off. And then last night, I'm in awe watching him. He has created an empire.
Yes.
And they even, in the helicopter, they circled the stadium a couple of times.
You heard what he said? He said circle the stadium. He tell the pilot circle the stadium.
Well, he knows he's on HBO. He knows he's on Hard Knocks.
I want a basket on what I built.
And they go around, and he says, you know what? It looks even better today than it looked 12 years ago when we opened it. And Stephen, of course, says,
I believe you're right.
Yeah, I believe so. And then we got that zoom in with the drone, and we went through what they ought to rename Jerryville. It's Frisco, Texas, but we had to go down Main Street and then all the way into the facility and all through the locker room and the weight room.
It was unbelievable.
It was just unbelievable. The practice field, the indoor, the outdoor. Nobody has a better facility than this.
No.
And it is his kingdom. He is the king of this kingdom. But in the end, it's about him more than it's about winning. And when he says, I would write any size check to win a Super Bowl, well, that's fine, but that's not how you win a Super Bowl. And you brought up Mr. Kraft up in New England. Could Jerry ever go Robert Kraft and just go to the games? Just go to the games.
No.
You can go sit up there and get all the TV close-ups that you want during the game. That's fine. Because Robert Kraft always gets some shots, some vanity shots, right? But Jerry's incapable of staying out of it. He did play college football. He was on a national championship team, 1964. Jimmy was there. They were not that close. They roomed together on the road because they were in alphabetical order, Jones and Johnson. and yet Jerry did do that. But when I've spoken to him for hours about football, he doesn't have a great feel for football.
No, he does not.
For who can play and who can't.
No.
So now he's actually having crucial input into whom they draft, in the end, the call on CeeDee Lamb, that was a Jerry call.
Absolutely.
In the end, every call in the draft, especially the first-round pick, that's Jerry's choice. He knows what the options are, and he's got all the information.
They've given him all the information. These are the guys that are on our draft board. These are the top 10 guys, top 15 guys that are on our draft board, and they had all that information. Skip, Jerry ain't watched one film on college. He's not looked at one tape on a free agent. They've handed him this information, and then Jerry's like, well, you know what I like? I like 8. And that's what they do.
And now he's all in on CD. I am too. I was the next day, and he's sitting up there. We saw the footage of him saying, what a weapon he is. Okay, I concur, but any fool can say what a weapon. I mean, come on. So in the end, I'm with you. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it because, listen, I'm going to be honest. I really like this guy. If you're around him for any amount of time, you're just going to like him. You can't because he's unsinkable. He's unshameable. He's fun to be around because he's always in a good mood. He's the life of the party. He's the life of the party. If you could believe that a 78, 79, you're about to be 79-year-old is the life of a party, it's Jerry. And it's unsinkable optimism. He's always like it's going to be great. It's going to be great. He talked about that when the camp opened in his speech where he got teary-eyed and was choking up, right?
But Skip, wouldn't you feel better if at some point in time they had gotten to an NFC championship game and lost a close game, or they had even made it to the Super Bowl, even if they had lost? Wouldn't you feel better as opposed to 4 playoff wins in 2.5 decades? And it makes you, and you want to say, okay, they're close now?
Okay, so I concur with that point. As a lifelong Cowboy fan, the most shocking stat of all in all of sports is what you just said. You have all that money and all those resources, and you did that with Jimmy's help, obviously, but you were a pretty good team with Jimmy. It was short-lived because it was going to blow up because the 2 egos were too big. And now both of them look back, and especially Jerry looks back and says, what was I thinking? And yet he did pull it off with Barry Switzer, and I have nothing but respect for Barry as a football coach because he can really coach it. And he showed you he could coach it in college and pro football. And I know he's had his issues and all that. We know all that. They've all had their issues. But it worked for that run, and they should have won, what, maybe 6 in a row?
They could have been the Patriots before the Patriots. Because you had Troy, you had Emmett, you had Mike, you had that team. They were in their prime. Deion was 27. Troy was 27. All these guys were in their absolute peak prime.
Well, am I right? Nobody's ever won 3 in a row.
No.
So they could have at least won 3 in a row.
The 49ers came the closest. They lost the championship game to the Giants in '89.
Okay. Well, that team, they were
90.
Okay, but so were those Cowboys. Right? That 94 team that they got to the NFC Championship.
And Emmett hamstring was a little gimpy that day. But they could have been something really special. Really. And they were special. I'm talking about special. I'm talking about what we haven't even talked, like you said, the 3 in a row would have set them apart. That's what it does in basketball. You win 3 in a row in basketball or baseball. A lot of teams,
but I cannot disagree with your takeaway, which is since Barry Switzer, that's it.
That's it.
They were very unspecial after that, and they're still unspecial, even though I think they're going to win the least. We're going to talk about that a little later because power rankings have them rising quickly, probably because people are watching Hard Knocks, And you get caught up in Cowboy mania,
Because Jerry won't hire anyone that has a backbone. So and I guess a lot of people, Skip, I want to coach, and I get an opportunity to say I coach the Cowboys. But that's all you do. You are coaching title. You have no say. Not on the final 53.
And in the end, Mike McCarthy, we saw him on the field with Jerry and Steven and Jerry Jr., and he needed a job. He wanted this job. It's a huge platform. And he got it because he ingratiated himself as another son. And if you become another son to Jerry, and that's how they're treating him like a family member, you're golden because you'll do his bidding. Whatever he says or Steven says, you do it. You execute it. Way to go.
2 men that wouldn't do that, Jimmy Johnson and Coach Parcells.
Coach Parcells, thank you.
Jerry finally had his moment. I did enjoy the, let's just circle. Let's circle again. Let me show you what I built. I thought that was very fitting.
Let's walk around my mansion one more time.
Let me just take you around really quick. If Mac Jones leapfrog Cam Newton this week as Cam sat out until Thursday, and Mac took over with the first string in joint practices with the Giants. Well, yesterday, Bill Belichick agreed with that notion for the rookie quarterback. Take a listen.
Big opportunity for Mac Jones this week. I mean, everybody, it all figures it together.
And we're going off that simple notion from Bill. Shannon, how much of an advantage does Mac Jones get with yesterday's practice and today's joint practice against the Giants?
Good thing Mr. Kraft doesn't pay Coach Belichick by the word, because he can save a lot of money because he does very little talking. Skip, it's a big advantage because the thing is, Cam's the starter. Now, I can only base it on how John got the starting reps when we were in Denver.
John Elway.
In most people do 10-play periods. John would get 8 plays. So that means Cam Newton's getting somewhere between 7 and 8, and Mac Jones getting 2.
Agreed.
Now, all of a sudden, Mac Jones is getting 7 to 8 plays, and the backup is getting 2. And so I'm not saying that this is going to lead to Mac Jones starting, but I think it leads to Coach Belichick feeling comfortable if Cam struggles, going to Mac Jones probably earlier, knowing that he's gotten these reps under his belt more so, probably quicker than he normally would have.
Yep.
And that's what happens. No, the greatest story in football, Skip, happened because why? Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Tom Brady got in there, and even when Drew Bledsoe got healthy, he never, ever got that job back.
And that was the greatest decision Bill Belichick made in his career, and that was a tough one.
It was a tough one.
Because he was the incumbent, and you're not supposed to lose your job because of injury.
Drew Bledsoe had taken this team to a Super Bowl. He was, what, a year or two removed from getting a $100 million contract?
Yep.
And Coach Belichick says, I don't give a blip. I believe this guy gives us a better chance, and they never look back. So this is why you're careful. Skip, why you think Tom take all them reps? Why you think Peyton Manning took all those reps? We never knew what Peyton Manning backup could do because he even took the kneel downs late in the ball game.
I never even knew who the backup was.
Exactly. And that's what the starters want to do. I don't want you to get any looks. If you take a look at him, he's going to be doing scout team. Cam put himself in this situation, and it seems to me, well, we don't know if Cam. Well, the protocol says unvaccinated players, if they leave, these are the type of protocols that they got to go through when they come back. So it's telling me he's having to go through these protocols. He's unvaccinated. But he put himself in this situation that Coach Belichick and the coaching staff gets a longer look at Mac Jones. He set himself up for this. I'm not saying, Skip, it's going to lead to him starting week 1. But what I will say and what I do believe is that this gives Coach Belichick a greater comfort level of going to Mac Jones probably earlier than he probably would, knowing he's getting these kinds of quality reps at this stage.
I have told you from the start about a guy that you loved going into the draft even more than I did, Mac Jones.
Yes.
That I believe in Belichick's heart of hearts, sooner than later, he wants to go forward with Mac Jones.
I'll agree with that.
Okay? It's Coach Saban. It's their connection. They're like-minded. They're sort of the two peas in the same pod.
Right.
Saban endorsed this kid, even though the Patriots snatched him all the way down at 15. I think Belichick still feels like this was the diamond in the rough that Brady was in the 6th round, that Mac Jones should have gone up at the top of the draft, and he fell 15 big slots, which is the equivalent in Belichick's mind of Brady falling to the 6th round.
Remember, Skip, the 49ers, before they had that second look at Trey Lance, had Mac Jones. A lot of people thought Mac Jones was going 3rd to the 49ers.
Thought they were sitting right on top of it all along. It wasn't until very late in the process that there started to be a little speculation. Wait a second, what about the North Dakota State kid, right? Okay, because of that, I believe that Cam, unfortunately, and I am a Cam fan and a Cam backer and have been from pre-draft, I'm afraid he just gave Belichick the excuse he needed and Mac Jones the opportunity he needed because Belichick is old school coaching. He believes that practice really counts.
Absolutely.
And if you show him in practice, it actually counts to him. It matters to where you could win a job by showing me in practice.
Or lose a job.
Or lose a job. And they got another practice session, and this one's on a higher level starting today against the Giants, a joint practice, so he's going to get to go against an opposing defense that'll run some new looks at him. They won't hit him because you can't hit in the joint practice, but watch Mac Jones get extended time in the Sunday final preseason game because this is a big deal for Belichick to pull the plug on Cam and go forward with Mac Jones. But it just feels like it's heading in that direction. So this is just a practice, but I'm reading the USA Today story this morning very early about his performance yesterday in practice. Big deal, maybe to Belichick, because yesterday Mac Jones went 30 of 38. He did throw 2 picks, but he's going against the guys who picked it. Devin McCourty and J.C. Jackson are really good at what they do.
Exactly.
2 of the best at what they do,
J.C. Jackson was second in the league in interceptions last week.
So he got picked twice. But near the end of practice, he twice drove his offense, like 80-yard drives for 2 touchdowns that prompted Belichick to make the defensive players drop and do sets of push-ups because that was their penance that they had to pay for that, okay? So he did that, and I'm guessing that resonated with Bill Belichick. And then I'm reading quotes from yesterday from one Matthew Slater, who is the longest tenured Patriot. He's the most respected veteran. He is the captain of this team. And when he speaks, my ears go wide open. And he was talking about Mac Jones saying His family should be proud of the way they raised him and the way he carries himself, the way that he commands respect of even guys like myself, older guys that have been here for a while. And he concludes, he's earned that respect by the way he's gone about his craft. So he's been a joy to work with, says Matthew Slater, of a rookie quarterback challenging Cam Newton, who is a former MVP of this league. Those words resonated to me, and I believe they'll resonate to Bill Belichick. So all of a sudden, I sit back, and I'm going to state this again. You know, Cam has his reasons for not getting vaccinated. Right. They're personal reasons. I don't know exactly what they are, but I do respect his right as an American to have that choice made that direction. But if he's just at home living by himself, that's fine. Right. But he works under Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots in a team concept. You cannot do anything but maximize your chances to make the team better. And you're
especially that position, Skip, being vaccinated. You're the quarterback. You make it really, really hard because that's the guy. That's the guy. You are the face of this franchise. Yes. You are the leader. Just by position of this franchise. And I think, Skip, I think the thing that what it does is that when you take the lion's share of the reps, you don't have to press. Because, Skip, if I'm only getting 2 reps, I need to show in one of those 2 reps, I need to show Coach Belichick something. Yep. So now I'm going to press. I'm going to probably try to make a throw that I shouldn't make. But I got him leaving an imprint on him. Yep. Now that I'm taking 7, 8 of those reps, now I can relax and let the game come to me. I can let it flow.
So after I slept on it, it hit me even harder. Cam Newton got rocked and racked by COVID last year, and it ruined his season.
So you would think I would be the first one as soon as somebody in my age demographic can get it, I'm going to get the test.
Go get the vaccine because it will maximize your chances to beat COVID if you get it again, and to please your teammates because we're all in this together. Right. And it allows you as a team to operate under less strict rules because if you're all vaccinated, a lot of the rules are gone. Right. And yet he didn't even seem to fathom that if he leaves the area without being vaccinated, you're going to fall into a protocol that's going to cost you at least 5 days. Right. It's just his career could be teetering right now. Right. I don't know if another team would sign him. I don't know if he loses this job if Belichick would keep him. He's almost too great to keep as the backup. It might be too much pressure exerted because, help me out, if Mac struggles in game number 1.
But Skip, remember, he got it. It did a number on him. COVID did a number on Cam.
Yeah, he was off to a rip-roaring start.
And then he got COVID and Skip. He wasn't the same player when he came back. Greater. So you would think, man, I'm going to get that vaccine because I don't want to go through what I went through last time. Right. No way, no how.
Yep.
And Coach Belichick looks at it, okay, this is a team. One guy's vaccinated, the other guy isn't. It's not like Cam is head and shoulders in the preseason above Mac Jones. So now Coach Belichick is looking at, I don't know, this thing neck and neck, and one guy's vaccinated who I can count on. Yep. And if the guy gets COVID, guess what? He's going to be out 14. He's going to be out 14 days, 2 weeks. You make Coach Belichick's job real easy.
Easier.
Hey.
I thought from the start Mac Jones would be the game 1 starter. You said going into the draft he's the most ready. To start game 1, and I think Belichick concurs with your view.
Man, I hate that Cam put himself in this position.
So do I.
Yeah, well, Bill Belichick, just with that little face, he told us what he's thinking, guys. We're going to switch gears entirely. Listen up to this next story. Knicks center Nerlens Noel filed a lawsuit against former agent Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, claiming he lost $58 million in potential salary. The suit claims that after Noel was offered a 4-year, $70 million deal before he signed with Clutch Sports, and Paul convinced him to sign a 1-year deal so he could make a bigger contract after. Noel ended up signing 4 contracts and never making more than $5 million a season after that. All right, Shannon, your reaction to this?
Yeah, I don't really think there's any merit to this. It seems to me that this lawsuit came after Rich Paul filed a grievance with the Players Association saying that Nerlens Noel owes him compensation for the contract that he negotiated with the Knicks last year. My thing is, okay, it says that Happy Waters was his agent when he turned that money down. He said Rich advised him. Rich is not your agent. Why are you listening to someone that's not your agent? Another thing, okay, Rich became your agent in, I think, late 2017.
Yes.
2018, 2019, 2020, nothing.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Rich Paul says, I want my money for the compensation, I want my commission for the contract that I negotiated with the Knicks. And now all of a sudden, this lawsuit.
Yep.
Skip, this is what I find is very ironic also. We still don't know who Dennis Schroeder's agent is. Dennis Schroeder turned down 4 years, $84 million. We don't know who the agent is. Nerlens Noel's turned down this money. Rich Paul isn't his agent. Now Rich Paul's name is getting drugged through the mud for something somebody else did because it's Rich Paul. Also, Nerlens Noel, when you turned that deal down and you took a 1-year deal, did you tell the people what happened after that? Oh yeah, I got hurt.
You did.
You're not Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant can get hurt and get a max deal.
Yep.
Kawhi Leonard can get hurt and get a max deal.
Yep.
You're not it. And I want to know the agent that's ever told Nerlens Noel, you're a $100 million player. Bruh, you got an injury history. You remember how you fell in the draft because of why, Skip? He tore his ACL in college. If I have an injury history, I'm not leaving any money. I'm taking that money. Why would I roll the dice knowing my history? Plus, also, you know, these teams talk also. Does he have any other issues? Is there anything else? Meeting time, late, the way you conduct yourself, the way you do things. I just find it just very ironic is that all of a sudden now, 4 years, Rich Paul has been his agent, Skip, since late 2017 up until now. And no lawsuit was filed. All of a sudden, Rich files a grievance against him to get...
You filed a grievance. You owe me $200,000. Not $58 million.
Right.
You owe me $200,000.
It wasn't until the man said, I want my money. You said, well, I'm filing against you because you cost me $58 million. If he cost you $58 million in 2021, he cost you that in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. It wasn't until that man requested his money.
Yep.
So I don't think he has legs to stand on because Rich Paul wasn't his agent. But here's the kicker, Skip. The agent works at the behest of the player. I had a contract, Skip, in 1992. Me and my agent, we going back and forth. The Olympics going on, so I wasn't in no hurry to go to training camp, Skip. I would have watched the Olympics in Barcelona. Now, the agent says, well, Shannon, this is what I think we can get. I told him, I said, now, look, if they go 15 more thousand, because, Skip, I had gotten more money. I was making 73,000. They was already up over 200,000. I said, if they go 15 more thousand, I'm going. He's like, well, Shannon, I think we can get him up over to 100. It's okay. He told me the number for the 2 years, Skip. I show up, because they already got my stuff in my locker. Skip, I show up the next day in training camp, ready to practice. They said, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to practice. They said, Shannon, you haven't signed the contract yet. You can't practice until you sign the contract. I don't care what that agent said. You work for me. I showed up. The agent worked for you, Nerlens Noel. You turned that down. Ain't no agent did that. You.
Look, we have all gotten bad advice from previous agents that have cost us, that did cost us money at that point in our career. I know what it feels like.
I do too, because I fired one.
Okay, there you go.
But I still had to pay him for the year that he negotiated the contract.
That happens too.
Skip, I just can't say, well, since I fired you, I'm going to stop paying you.
I have done similarly. So I'm no legal eagle. I don't know exactly what will fly and what won't in court, but I'm with you. My gut feeling is this will not stand up in court. Just to be clear about this, Nerlens Noel says that he met Rich Paul at a birthday party for Ben Simmons out here in L.A.
Correct.
While he was in the process of thinking about what had been offered to him from the Dallas Mavericks, which was 4 years and $70 million. That's almost $18 million a year. That's a pretty good deal, right?
Yes.
And he claims in the lawsuit that Rich's advice was, no, you're worth more than that. So you need to just go ahead and accept the 1 year sort of qualifying offer so you can get through 1 year at, what was it, $4.1 million.
Who would do that?
Okay, well, that's what he says Rich advised him to do, and I have no idea because that's one man's word versus another man's word, right? And he says that's what that was the strategy that Rich advised him to take, and then he went ahead and signed with Rich at some point in that process.
Right.
And you know the rest of the story. He hurts his thumb, he misses 42 games, and he hits rock bottom. And it's a sad story. He Schroedered himself.
Yes.
Basically what happened. How much of that is Rich's fault? I don't know. Here's the problem that Rich and LeBron have faced from the very start. The deeper issue here, the subtext of all this, is the appearance, just the appearance of conflict, of impropriety, because also in the lawsuit, he is suggesting, as Nerlens Noel, that he says that he later learned that representatives from the Houston Rockets and Los Angeles Clippers wanted to discuss opportunities with Rich Paul, but they could not make contact with him during this free agent process. Okay, so then you leap to the conclusion, and I'm leaping here, that, because LeBron and Rich are joined at the hip, basically, because LeBron started all this and had to fund it from the start and put Rich on the map. And listen, Rich is really good at what he does. He has proven again and again and again he is really good. He is not just a product of LeBron James because he is his own man. He is making his own way, but he needed a jump start. He needed the seed money from LeBron.
LeBron gave 3 guys opportunities.
Yes.
Rich, Maverick, and Randy. Randy is the chief of staff. He handles LeBron's day-to-day operations.
And Maverick, Maverick is an absolute dynamo on Wall Street and in Hollywood.
Correct.
Okay, so but they had to make it on their own after he opened the doors for all 3 of them. Okay, got it. So I'm taking nothing away from Rich Paul, but the appearance of conflict is always going to hang over LeBron and Rich because a lot of clutch clients come to the Lakers. So it looks like, well, is Rich just sending them to help LeBron? And was he not returning the calls of the Rockets and Clippers in the Western Conference to protect LeBron from Nerlens?
I don't think
well, that suggests that LeBron was afraid of Nerlens Noel. That's probably a stretch.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it.
But Skip, what agent would tell a player, you got $17.8 million on the table. We're going to scrap that and go 1 year for less than 5, knowing anything can happen. A rolled ankle, broken leg, ACL, Achilles, thumb, anything can happen. Who does that? Skip, okay, Kevin Durant, one of these top tier, Joel Embiid, one of these top tier guys, okay, you want to roll the dice, but that's what you're doing, Skip. You're betting on yourself. But every betting on yourself story is not a success story.
Okay.
And so we saw that with Schroeder. We saw a guy that rolled the dice on himself and rolled snake eyes.
He did.
Okay, Nerlens Noel, bruh, you can't, after someone files a grievance against you, all of a sudden look back. Rich Paul wasn't your agent. Even if he had given you advice, your agent was Happy Waters.
Walters,
excuse me. That's your agent.
Okay. You're right. And at least Nerlens lived to tell about it because he got his deal from the Knicks right now. So it's 3 years, what is it, $27.7 million. It's not that deal that was left on the table.
You're never going to make that up.
At least he's back in business, right?
Because he got 1 year last. I think he signed for 1 year. Last year was 1 year, $10 million. So hence the I guess what, 5% of that, whatever the case may be. It was Rich Paul filed a grievance, and then for whatever reason, Nerlens Noel signed his agreement. And he also, I was reading about it, says, well, he only showed preferential treatment to the high-profile clients.
That is correct.
Well, welcome to the world of business. What do you think CAA does? What do you think Elite does? What do you think Philip Morris does? Bruh, every agent don't get the same treatment as a Dwayne Johnson or a Tom Cruise or a Denzel or a Samuel Jackson. You think C-list actors and actresses get the same as Scarlett Johansson? Really, you believe that? Or Denzel? That's what you think in Nerlens Noel.
If you want your calls returned quicker, you should have stayed with Happy Walters.
Thank you.
Right?
Skip, That was the whole thing, Skip. When I was coming out, I was a seventh-round draft pick. Man, ain't no agent want no 5% or no $22,000 what I got to sign. They want 5% of $1.7 million.
Yep.
What Jeff George and what these top-tier guys were signed for. Then when I became somebody, everybody was reaching out. We'd like to represent you. We see you don't have an agent. Nah, I'm going to interview people. I'm going to get somebody. One of the things that turned me off is that when I call somebody, well, he's not available right now. Can he call you back? And I'm only going to do that so many times before I say, don't worry about it, have him call me back. I'm good. I'm moving a different direction. I'll concede. Hey, I still had 2 years left on the contract. I'll pay that out.
Okay. So, in the end, I think neither of us have much sympathy for Nerlens.
No.
In his sort of, it's almost like a countersuit to the grievance, right? But in the end, I do think that LeBron and Rich are going to have to live with what comes across as a bad look, that they're in business together, and that Rich, like who's Rich's #1 client by times 1,000?
Yeah.
It's LeBron, right?
Right.
So is he going to protect LeBron? Well, sure he is. Is he going to make sure LeBron gets this player and that player to come to the let? Sure he is. Why wouldn't he? But there's always going to be the appearance of conflict.
Man, Rich Paul, they got more clients than CAA.
No.
Everybody at CAA getting all the clients. They don't nobody say anything. And they put them where.
But CAA doesn't have LeBron hanging over it. You know, it's not like CAA exists because
nobody
of one
has
client.
LeBron. So wherever LeBron is, he has that hanging over it.
Okay, I got it. But I'm just saying that the look is not the best for these two, and they just have to live with it. They've gone forward. It's been how many years they've been in business together?
Right.
It's worked this long.
Right.
And Rich continues to do well standing on his own 2 feet.
Correct.
But in the end, there's always just this little bit of a cloud hanging over. Well, there is a conflict here because you're always going to operate in the best interest of that guy with the Lakers.
Well, Skip, for me, the way, and I've had agents basically since 1990, they've never given me a number. If they give you a number and you don't get that number, did they fail or did you overbid yourself? They said, Shannon, I'm going to get the best deal I possibly can, and I think at the end of the day, you'll be happy with the deal that we get. That's the way you do it. Because, Skip, what happens if, you told me you was going to get me $8 million. The other guy told me he can get me 7. You got me 4. You terrible. Or then he says, well, Shannon, we're going to get you the best deal. And I'm like, whoa, you got me that?
Yep. I have another story I could tell, but I can't tell it on TV. So I'll just let Jenny have it.
But you understand, Skip. You had agents for 25 years.
Longer. Yes.
So, hey,
I know.
Exactly.
I know how the game is played.
Thank you.
And
everybody tells you they can get you more money to get your business.
I'm afraid Nerlens will not be able to have this stand up in court.
I don't believe so either.
Yep.
No mercy.
Well, we got to see more of Dak Prescott's personality last night on Hard Knocks. Other than just rehabbing from his muscle strain, we got to see him playing cards with teammates, and he also shared his childhood fear of people in costumes. So, Shannon, what have you learned about Dak from Hard Knocks so far?
Skip, I already knew Dak was a good guy. His teammates really like him. He's a really down-to-earth guy. Plays cards with the guys. He goes out, probably goes bowling. They probably do a lot of things together. So there's nothing not to like about Dak Prescott, even though playing spades looked like him and Zeke got set on that last hand. Looked like they ran a 10 for 2 on him. So
I noticed that.
You noticed that?
And the guy who runs the mailroom, Jonathan Jackson, I loved him. He took it over.
Hey, you ain't no hard feelings. Zeke ain't no hard feeling when you come into the stadium. Skip, Dak's a good leader. He's the type of quarterback that you want, a guy that guys gravitate towards. He's going to do the right things. He's going to be prepared mentally, physically. Yeah, he has a little setback not dealing with the lat muscle, the sprain in his lat. But, Skip, there's nothing not to like about him. Now, we didn't get a whole lot. The previous episodes, we learned a little bit about the shoulder, possibly when he possibly come back. Then we didn't get anything about that last night. And so I don't think that was an accident. I don't think that was an accident. I think, hey, Dak, you putting too much information out there. We don't want this out there. Let's just go play it out. September 9th's going to roll around. You're going to try out there, be up under the center, and we'll move from there. But, Skip, for me, I didn't learn anything different about Dak that I didn't already think or didn't already know. I thought he was a good guy. He came across as a good guy, a guy that his teammates like being around, gravitate towards. That's the type of guy that you can win with.
Okay. First of all, a quick observation about Ezekiel Elliott. So we got to see inside a quarterback room meeting, and the conversation starts with Zeke talking about why he is always been afraid of mascots. They're like Dak's people in costumes, but he doesn't like mascots. They just they bother him. Just their general appearance. And I'm thinking, what's Zeke doing in the quarterback room? And then I read in today's USA Today that he has long been allowed to attend quarterback meetings to streamline communication. This is just my hunch from a distance. I think he's long been allowed to attend because he and Dak are like that. They are joined at the hip. And they're good for each other because they vibe off each other. And I think they both said, hey, we spend a lot of hours away from each other. Let Zeke come into the quarterback meeting because there'll be a lot of communication that can actually help him in that meeting. And I agree with that. But I have never, ever heard of a running back sitting in the quarterback room. Have you?
Nope.
And I will bet you no other team in this league has a running back in the quarterback room as we speak.
Even when I was going to have running back responsibility, Skip, I was going to have to block from the backfield. I never sat in there. It was just, you know, we talk about that in the offensive meeting. I went in my own meeting, and they says, okay, Shannon, this is what we're going to need you to do. You're going to motion to the backfield, and you know, scan 1 to 2. If they go Liz, obviously you got the guy off the edge or one of those guys. If they go Rip, you go to the other side. But I didn't go in the quarterback room, Skip. I just didn't. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that's not how we normally do it.
But you concur it's unusual.
It's very unusual.
As in highly unusual.
Very unusual,
right?
Yes, very.
Next thing I notice about the seating in the quarterback room, the spacing is that Dak now sits in the first row of seats that go above the table, at which all the other quarterbacks and coaches are sitting. So he's a little bit removed into himself, which that's his new stature. He's going to make $75 million next year. He is the unquestioned leader of this franchise. He is the face of the franchise, but he's not sitting among them elbow to elbow. He's in a seat 1 row up above the table. I'm good with that. I sort of like the body language of that because I am the man in here. Yeah,
but Skip, now these meeting rooms are so big. I mean, when I was playing, wasn't nobody sitting up on nobody because the room was only so big.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the star. That's the billion-dollar empire.
You really got like Jerry 4 people
Jones.
in there.
Okay, I got it. So I have really appreciated Hard Knocks because I've gotten to see inside Dak Prescott in ways I had no idea about because he is very guarded in interviews. I often feel like after games, he works hard at saying little. Like he avoids, he ducks, he dodges. He avoids questions, especially potentially negative questions, better than he does pass rushers.
But one thing the quarterback knows, Skip, anything that he say can and will be used against him.
Well, obviously.
His word is dynamite. He says something negative after a ball game, Skip.
Especially for that team, America's team, on that stage at the billion-dollar star in Jerry world, you have to be exceedingly careful. And remember what he had to do. He had to beat out Tony Romo, who to a lot of people was godlike.
Well, he was godlike to Jerry.
He was. No, he was. And to be able to navigate those deep waters and take over that team in 2016, he learned to play the media game in ways that aren't good for us because I'd like to know a little bit more. Well, I'm getting to see way deep inside because Dak is getting more and more comfortable through these episodes. What do we have? Just one left? I think it's just one more. 4 episodes. This was the 3rd. And he's showing me, he's, so to speak, letting his hair down. He's showing me inside him in ways I had no idea. I only know him really as a competitor on the football field. And the story he told was kind of chilling, but it was eye-opening about he just doesn't like people in costumes. And he said it carried on until he was in middle school. He's telling his mother, I just don't, I fear him because his point was, you never know who's inside that costume. He says that's the perfect place to kill somebody. And he goes on to say that she understood. And he said, y'all think it's a fake chainsaw that guy in the costume is carrying, but you don't know if one of them crazy, as you say, mofos, put a blade on that B word one day, as in the chainsaw might have an actual blade on it instead of a rubber blade, So it was a great story because I thought, oh, well, that's his one deep phobia. You know, like he has a fear of people in costumes because he doesn't know what their motive might be.
I think the thing is also what I like about him, Skip, is that although I'm the quarterback, yes, I'm the highest paid, yes, I'm the face of the franchise, he doesn't put himself above the teammates.
No.
He's also a guy, Skip, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones go to bed, they're never going to get a call about Dak Prescott. That's the thing.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Just for the record, just to be completely objective, he did have a DUI
in college
at Mississippi State.
Yes,
just one.
Yeah, I think and sometimes, you know, I think he got that out of his system and he realized that, you know what, I want to enjoy, because a lot of times, Skip, as an athlete, you don't get the certain privileges and the certain benefits of a college student. Yeah. Because you looked at it different. They don't know the guy that's going to the science class that's getting a degree in journalism or something like that. Agreed. But you're the quarterback of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That's going to make the news. Somebody in the drama class that gets a DUI ain't going to make the news. Nope. He learned that.
Even in Starkville, Mississippi.
Yes, yes. So he learned at a very young age, yes, I want to do certain things, but I can't. I forego that. I gave that all up because this is what I wanted to be, and you have to be willing to make those kinds of sacrifices. Right. I believe he's willing to make those kinds of sacrifices.
Right. And some people speculated that's why he fell some in the draft. Well, I'm losing track. Was he fourth round?
Fourth round.
Fourth round. So, boy, he looks. If you redrafted that draft today, would he not go?
No question, he's a first rounder.
Well, he's definitely a first rounder. I'd have to go back and study. I didn't look at it before, but
Winston Golf was in that draft.
He'd be top 5-ish.
Oh,
right?
easy.
Well, wouldn't he go above those two?
Probably because they went 1-2.
Okay, so is it possible he'd go 1 in that draft? He just well might. Yeah. Okay, so that's what's happened, and yet as a Dallas Cowboy, no issues. So to your point, that's why Jerry and Steven. Well, in the end. That's why Jerry finally caved and said, I just don't have another choice. I got to pay him this kind of money.
I gotta.
And Jerry admitted at the media session, he got me.
Right.
I lost.
Right.
I kept telling you. Jerry got taken to the cleaners, then he got taken to the bank by Dak Prescott.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Skip, is that Dak beat his son. He viewed Tony Romo as a son. Yeah. And Dak Prescott took the job for. He looked at it like Stevie, look at Jared Jr., he looked at it like his daughter. I think his daughter's name's Charlotte. That's how he viewed Tony Romo. He did. Skip, he did not want Dak Prescott to get this job.
And remember, Tony made a concession speech.
Yes.
Both in the locker room right after the game at Pittsburgh, our first year here on Undisputed. Remember, we were in New York that week, and then we came back, and that was the Sunday game at Pittsburgh. I didn't think they could win that game, and remember, Zeke took the game over. Dak was special in that game. They won at Roethlisberger, and in the locker room, Romo told Stephen Jones, and it was reported that, hey, you have no idea how hard it is to do what he just did. Right. And then that Tuesday, he just gave a concession speech. I give it up. It's his job.
I still believe Jason Garrett and Stephen Jones fought for Dak like Dad. Well, they don't call him Dad. Stephen, they call him Jared. Jared, you can't do this. Yeah. You cannot give Tony this job back. This kid is playing too well.
Okay. So he got Brady.
Yeah, he did, Skip. Hey, injury? You can lose. And I don't know who started that, Skip, where that idea came from. You can't lose your job because of injury. Because Mike would always tell us, we start to see the Mike says, look, if you get injured and the guy comes in and he's playing better than you before you got injured, it's his job. So you can't lose your job to injury.
I don't know where that started. It's almost like we all accept that's the golden rule. Well, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No.
So I would like to thank Hard Knocks for giving us some inside looks, especially into Dak's psyche.
Right.
Yeah, the card playing was definitely a highlight. Felt very real and relatable. It's been fun to see those behind-the-scenes moments.
No mercy.
Jared Dudley has agreed to become an assistant coach with the Mavericks. The forward spent the last 2 seasons with the Lakers, and LeBron wasn't thrilled about seeing him depart. LeBron tweeted, quote, "Congrats to my guy if this is true," which it probably is, but facepalm emoji. Man, leap. I'm getting good at reading LeBron's tweets, if I do say so myself. Shannon, are you surprised by how hard LeBron took this?
No, because, Skip, a lot of times if you looked at the bubble, you never saw LeBron without Jared Dudley, Anthony Davis around. When you see them out in a group setting, Duds was normally there.
Oh, he's Duds now.
Yeah, the Duds.
Oh,
you know what they call
the fifth horseman, so you know, right?
Well, that's what they call him. They call him Duds. Okay. But anyway, Skip. So for me, I'm not surprised. LeBron, you know, Skip, LeBron get close to his guys. He understands there are going to be times that they leave, and it's always it's hard. But that doesn't make it, and it's the right thing for Dudley to do at this point in time, Skip. But that doesn't make it any easier on LeBron because he's losing a very good friend. You talked about the bubble, Skip. It was Dudley and LeBron breaking down film together. So they had become close over these last 2 years. Yep. And although this was a natural progression for him, he seems like he was more in a coaching role than a playing role over the last 2 years anyway. It's still hard because I'm sure LeBron would have loved to have him have an opportunity to do what he's going to be doing in Dallas, have that opportunity in L.A. and still be close to LeBron. So I'm not, and I know you're going to say, well, why LeBron have to use the F-bomb? Because to give it to
How
it.
do you know I'm going to say that? I haven't even spoken.
Because the effect, because if he just said, man, I can't believe my guy's gone, then now you get the magnitude of how hurt he is.
I got it, but at least he quickly tweeted, excuse my language, because that was like a big old all caps F-bomb.
Yeah.
Whoa. Again, since you brought it up, I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up. I don't know why this compulsion he has to curse in tweets. I don't get it.
For effect.
I thought he was a role model.
Impact.
I thought it was, I promise. I don't know. Maybe he's gone Charles Barkley in the 80s. Remember, I am not a role model?
Right.
Okay.
No. It's a different situation. Skip, I think the thing is, if he doesn't say that, you're not going to like, he don't really
you know what? I agree with that. And my biggest takeaway from this was proof positive that he does not have a social media director hovering over him or editing his tweets for him or saying, are you sure you want to hit send on that one?
Right.
This was real, raw emotion spilling out of the keyboard.
Correct.
Right? Phew. And I'm thinking, how many teammates have come and gone in LeBron's career?
Oh, man.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teammates. And I'm sure he liked most of them, if not all of them, because he's a good guy.
Right.
He's a nice guy. He's fun to be around.
But you know what, Skip? If you think about it, Skip, a lot of times he's closer to the guys that you would think like, like James Jones. Skip, you remember what he thought about James Jones?
Okay, but James Jones is proven as a runner of a franchise. That he's got a high basketball IQ, so I get why LeBron gravitated. Right.
But
James Jones did not contribute at all to those Miami chases.
Yeah, he would come in a little mop-up duty, hit a shot, and then he went back to Cleveland. He went with LeBron.
He did.
Brought him back.
Kept him with him.
Yes.
And I used to go watch the warm-ups just to watch him shoot the warm-ups because he could just shoot the lights out. But he just didn't get a shot in games. He didn't get much run with those teams.
But I think maybe could that be the direction Dudley is heading in? James Jones didn't do any coaching. He went straight from playing to the GM role. Yeah. But it'd be very interesting. But I can see Dudley in this role, Skip.
Okay. So here's what I know about Jared Dudley. So back in my days on ESPN, on the other show, it started in 2012. We took the show on the road to the NBA Finals, which featured the Baby Thunder against LeBron in what was about to become his breakthrough championship finals. Remember? So we're game one. We're in Oklahoma City. Jared was actually, he was going to be a guest on the show, but he was back in studio in Bristol. And that's the first time I interacted with him over the air.
Right.
And we liked him so much because he can talk it and he knows it and he can see it. A lot of athletes can't see it and speak it.
Correct.
And you obviously can, but you're at the top of that list. But he's very good with the words and the thoughts. He can put it into words that are fun to listen to. And so we sparred about LeBron, I think, and whatever. It was a good mix.
Right.
So I said, gee, let's get him back. So at some point during the next season, we had him back on when he was in the neighborhood. Right. And he was playing for Phoenix then. And in fact, that year, the 2012 year, he had just finished. He averaged his career high 13 points. Right. So those 3 years in Phoenix, he went 11 points, 13 points, and then 11 in 2013. Right. And that was the apex of his career. Yet once upon a time, Jared Dudley, who grew up in San Diego, went to Boston College. He was the ACC Player of the Year. Yes. Player of the Year? Yes. And he was the 22nd overall pick in the draft. Right. It would always amuse me because when I would watch him, he often just looked like some guy at the Y, you know, that's trying to get picked to play in a pickup game, right? But he could play and he could defend at a high level, and he was a 3-and-D guy. Right. So when I saw him in studio in 2013, took him out in the hall. We were just going back and forth, and we wanted to use him fairly regularly, but I needed to know, are you going to keep doing this much longer? Because, as you well know, it's much easier to be objective when you're no longer playing.
That is correct.
If you're going to go on, then you have to protect.
You're right.
And there's certain things, certain places you can't go.
Some of the guys you criticize, you might end up in the locker room.
Okay, so that's 2013, and I'm saying, how many more years do you want to go? And he said, I do want to go a couple more years because I'm a 3-and-D guy and I'm a valuable piece for somebody. He's not a starter, but he would come off the bench and contribute. Well, from that day forward, he played for 6 more teams over 8 more years. 8 more years. Well, he made a ton of money. And he does have a family to support. And he's like, for him, his point to me was, this is like stealing money because I can do this. So he had an amazingly long run of a career, not at the highest level, but he did that. And yet for his career, he averaged 7.3 points, 3.2 rebounds, 1.5 assists. And yet he ingratiated himself into LeBron's world to the point LeBron was devastated in these tweets because I have been around him enough to know he is also a lot of fun to be around. He's smart, he's funny, and he is always, a la Jerry Jones, he's always in a good mood. So I know for LeBron, if his moods rise and fall through the year, if you're just around duds, he'll pick you back up. And the second tweet was, excuse my language, but this one hurt for many reasons that you would not understand. Well, I think it's very deep. I think he was a sounding board. I think he was a rock to lean on. I think he helped get LeBron through the bubble, and we've talked and talked. And it was the Jared Dudley quote on a podcast shortly after the bubble championship when he said, them boys, the Clippers, did not want to be in that bubble. So I've repeated that line many times. Well, that was an insightful line because they just came all apart in the bubble, obviously, and then you know what happened. They blow the 3-1 lead. Well, LeBron, and maybe more credit is deserved for Jared Dudley, kept the Lakers together to the bitter end. Okay, so maybe he will be a big loss, and I'm not at all surprised that Jason Kidd, who got to see him up close and personal as the Lakers assistant, said, hey, I want you to come here and sit with me, and they're reporting he's going to be on the front row. So you've got like 6 assistants, and some have to sit in the second row, and you have to sort of earn your keep and you pay your dues. Well, I think he's not going to have to pay any dues because Jason Kidd said you already paid him. You know, I already know what you can do.
That's great. That's great. We're going to be all right, Brian. Well, we're going to be all right.
I don't know. I think this is like a lethal blow.
There ain't no lethal blow.
Yeah? LeBron's just going to be adrift next year.
No.
You're going to have to spend more time with him.
We're going to miss Doug.
Just to keep him
a good guy, sounding board, funny, you know, help us with film study and all that, you know, get everybody, you know, keep the guys loose. We'll be all right.
Well, if Bron needs a shoulder to cry on, I'm here for him.
No, we want nothing to do with you.
He could call me any night. I'd listen.
We might get one of them guys in the costume with the chainsaw for you.
Okay. You got to watch those guys. You don't know when that chainsaw is made of rubber or steel.
You're right.
Well, it sounds like he's going to be a great coach. He has all those attributes. We wish him the best of luck.
No mercy.
Yesterday, during a radio interview, Jerry Jones did not shy away from where he stands on his players getting the COVID vaccine. He said, quote, everyone has a right to make their own decisions regarding their health and their body. I believe in that completely until your decision as to yourself impacts negatively on many others. Then the common good takes over, and I'm arm waving here. But that has everything to do with the way I look at our team, the Cowboys, or the way I look at our society. We have got to check I at the door and go forward with we. Your Dallas Cowboys are doing that. Shannon, were you surprised by Jerry's comments?
No, but I'm not buying it that is his top priority for everyone, Skip. In addition to the pain and suffering that this country is going through with COVID, it's affected his bottom line. That's what it's done, Skip. Jerry likes dollars. The vaccine and the mask is the quickest way for the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys to get back to doing business in a normal capacity. That's what this is about. Not one time have I heard Jerry Jones do a PSA talking about vaccination, even though as it ravages mainly the South, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Texas, Jerry hasn't given one PSA. He's talking about the vaccine for my club. Yeah, because you want things to get back to normal. You know the best way for your season not to get interrupted is for all of your players to be vaccinated. You're going to pack the stands.
Yep.
Here's in New Orleans. What are they doing, Skip? You have to show a proof of vaccination or a negative test to get into the stadium. Is Jerry doing that? Absolutely not. So he can miss me with that. Oh, it sounds good.
It does.
Sounds really good. But come on, let's be all the way 100 because this could potentially affect his bottom line. And that's what is, I'm not saying, hey, Jerry, I'm sure he has his reasons, but I believe this is the main reason why Jerry is speaking out about this, because it can impact the bottom line. Because we know when Jerry thinks something's going to impact the bottom line, Skip, we went through something in 2016 and 2017. He was very outspoken. He was one of the few owners because what? It was impacting the bottom line. We know what the bottom line is, so Jerry ain't fooling me. COVID is for real. It's serious. And I wish a lot more people would get vaccinated and wear the mask so we can get back to normal or what we think is normal.
Yes.
But Jerry ain't fooling me.
I hear what you just said. But for Jerry Jones, this is about as close to a PSA as he's ever going to get for the greater good. I liked what he said because I liked the way he said it. And I agree with every point you just made. And obviously, when it comes to political and social stances of Jerry Jones in the past, you and Jerry have been at odds.
Yes.
And likewise, I have been at odds with what Jerry has staunchly believed. But I thought Nancy Armour wrote a great piece about this in today's USA Today. It was insightful, it was compelling, and it was a bullseye for me because her point was, just at a glance on the surface, it's shocking that Jerry Jones would have this stance until you start thinking about the cash cow that is in jeopardy right now.
Correct.
On the field and at the box office.
Correct.
And obviously, the more people get vaccinated, the more people just arguably will be able to come and sit at Jerry World, buy tickets. So the point that Nancy is making, I'm going to reread that quote one more time from Jerry, but her point is that Jerry Jones is a white Republican man, which puts him in the least vaccinated demographic, according to this new NBC News poll that I read this morning. It's really good. It's very eye-opening.
Right.
And so if we go back to Jerry's quote, he's saying that everyone has a right to make their own decisions regarding their health and their body. Good.
Right.
He says, I believe in that completely until your decision as to yourself impacts negatively many others. Then the common good has to take over. And his conclusion is, we've got to check I at the door and go forward as a we. And he's talking about society and team.
I believe he's talking about team. He ain't mentioned nothing. He ain't talking about no society.
Yeah, but again, the society impacts his bottom line at the box office.
Skip, the governor has already said he's not doing any passports. He's not doing any mask mandate. So they're going to put 85, 90,000 in there regardless.
Okay, all right. But you're talking about this, the Texas government.
Texas. Jerry is talking about, the I is talking about, yeah, I understand. You want to do what's, your body. He say, but the I, we need to talk about we, the Cowboys. Jerry ain't talking about no society. He ain't talking about nothing else. No. He can miss me with this one. I don't believe that, Skip.
I do. I disagree with you on this one because he's seeing for the greater good of economics, for us to get back to a semblance of normal. Vaccination is the way to go.
Yes.
Masks are also the way to go, but they're not going to do masks.
Right.
But vaccination would be #1 on that list. Am I right?
Well, how about this here? He says, you know what? I would love to. How about set up a drive? We're gonna give you a free tickets to a game. Anybody that come get vaccinated, we're gonna give you tickets to the Cowboys game for free. Okay. If you want to put some teeth to that. If you mean what you say, you say what you mean.
Okay. But he is in the least vaccinated demographic, and he is obviously very vaccinated because we heard him last night in Hard Knocks saying, I've gotten more shots than a Cocker Spaniel. Remember that?
But here's the thing, though, Skip. Why? He's also in the high-risk group. his age, his
but there are a whole lot of that group who are saying absolutely not.
Right.
And we'd have to break it down into who you voted for and which party.
Obviously, that has a lot to do with it, Skip.
A whole lot to do with it. But I would encourage people to go look up the NBC News poll, and I don't want to get too political, but it's just eye-opening. You can just see they broke it into all the correct categories. It went right down the list.
Right.
And you can say, aha, aha, aha. And yet, Nancy Armour's conclusion in USA Today is when a vaccine can end a pandemic that has killed more than 600,000 Americans and stretch healthcare workers beyond exhaustion, not getting one is neither personal nor a choice. It's selfish and good for Jerry Jones for calling it out regardless of his reasons. So I'm just with the greater good of this.
Yeah.
I just like it. Listen, when Jerry speaks, a whole lot of people listen because you saw those people at that practice. They're just like in awe of seeing him for real, right?
Yeah. But Skip, you remember like a lot of these with the voting thing, a lot of these basketballs, a lot of these football arenas, they open up, early voting.
Yep.
Okay, hey, NFL, y'all serious about this?
No, that's a whole different ball of wax. Yeah.
Because you see, Skip, some states are offering, lottery and some college degrees, a couple of $100 here or there.
Okay.
People like sporting events. Say, hey, you get vaccinated, you get to come to watch a game, get to watch the Cowboys, or watch the Patriots, watch the Steelers.
I'm down. I agree.
Yes.
I would agree. That would be putting your words into action.
That's what I did.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I was, just at a glance, I was surprised by how staunch he was in what he said on his radio show about getting vaccinated. Obviously, it impacts his team's ability to win football games, number one.
Yes.
And he also said we have 4 or 5 who are still not vaccinated.
Right.
They're, 93-ish%, I think. But he's also talking to the greater good because the economy is going to flourish more the more people that get vaccinated. It's as simple as that.
But here's the thing, Skip. Even last year, when there was no fans in the stadium, the value of the franchise increased 14%. So Jerry is unimpacted. See, so the greater good, he's talking about the fans in the stadium. It don't matter because my franchise is still increasing in value. He's talking about what can blow up his situation is one of those guys getting infected and contaminating the locker room, and now all of a sudden they got to shut it down.
Absolutely. So he's like, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
You got to do this for our greater good in the locker room. I got it.
Yeah.
It was surprising and then ultimately not surprising.
No mercy. My favorite time of year. It's finally here on Saturday. College football kicks off on Fox, and a Big Ten battle awaits as Nebraska faces Illinois at 1 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. And Fox Bet Super 6 is giving you a chance to win $5,000 during that game. So scan the QR code below, download the app, and answer 6 questions about the matchup for your chance to win college football here. USA Today's NBA writers compiled their top point guards going into this season. Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and Kyrie Irving took the top 3 spots, and all the way down at number 10 was Russell Westbrook. The Lakers' newest addition found himself down in double digits behind both Ben Simmons at 9 and De'Aaron Fox at 8. Shannon, how much does it concern you that LeBron's new point guard is ranked this low?
Well, it doesn't concern me at all, Skip, and I do believe that he's ranked too low. There's no way, I don't believe there are 10 point guards better than Russell Westbrook currently playing in the NBA. And it doesn't matter how he's viewed by outsiders. It only matters how he's viewed by LeBron and AD. And clearly they thought enough of him to want to play with him. So that's first and foremost. Skip, yes, Russell has flaws. I think most of these guys have flaws. But playing hard, giving you all that effort every night is not one of the reasons. Leading the NBA, I mean, he can say something that nobody else on this list can say other than maybe Chris Paul, that they've led the NBA in assists. And he's done that, 4 times now? So for me, Skip, look, how he's viewed around the league, I'm not going to even debate, the top 2 or 3. I mean, Steph, Dame, Kyrie. Okay, now Kyrie's a point guard as opposed to James Harden, because I could have swore Kyrie said James Harden is the point guard, I'm the 2 guard. For some reason, they view him as, and so whatever. But there's no way there are nine other point guards in the NBA, Skip, better than Russell Westbrook. I'm just not buying it.
Okay, I want to be clear about this and get this back on the record before I launch.
Okay.
You were saying that your view of this move was to get LeBron off the ball more. So you you are validating that Russell Westbrook is going to be the point guard for your Lakers, correct?
I think LeBron will be off the ball more this year than probably any time in his career.
In his career. That's a bold statement.
Yes.
Okay, in his career.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to consider Russell Westbrook then the starting point guard for your Los Angeles Lakers, right? Okay, I want our viewers to let this sink in. This poll, this ranking, it's not a poll, it's a ranking. This ranking has Russell Westbrook all the way down at 10th.
Yes.
After Russell Westbrook has led this league in assists 3 of the last 4 years.
Right.
And last year in Washington, he had his career high 11.7 assists per game.
Per game.
So every game that he played last year, he averaged almost 12 assists a game.
Yes.
Think about that. That led the NBA.
Right.
3 of the last 4 years, he has led the NBA, yet this ranking says, yeah, but he's only the 10th best. I buy this ranking. I would take Ben Simmons as my distributor over Russell Westbrook just in initiating my offense because Ben Simmons has a better feel for playing basketball, for distributing than Russell Westbrook does. Taking nothing away from Russell's overall impact because he is a slam dunk Hall of Famer. We agree on that.
Let me ask you a question. If I took Joel Embiid away from the Sixers and Ben Simmons is the guy that's leading, Ben Simmons taking them to the playoffs?
Okay, but we're talking about Ben as the initiator of the offense, right?
But I've seen Russell Westbrook take less teams to the playoffs.
Okay, and done what?
No, he just, I mean, the mere fact that he got, I mean, I never thought Russ was going to win a championship without KD.
Guess what Russ's overall playoff record in all the games he's played in?
Yes.
He is now 55 and 56.
Okay.
He is 1 game under 500 in the playoffs.
Yes.
That's not great. It's not all his fault, but it's not great.
Right.
And he has played with some pretty great players in his day, right? There have been times when he got left for dead, so to speak, in Oklahoma City by Kevin. Okay, so we get all that. But he's a career 8.5 assists over 13 seasons, yet he's ranked below Ben Simmons, 10th to 9th for Ben. Right. Ben Simmons has the gift of passing, and we saw it at LSU that first. He's not splashy, flashy as a passer. There's nothing spectacular about it. He just has a knack, a feel for the bounce pass. It's not going to go behind the back or between the legs. He's just going to make the right play.
Right.
Russ, especially in tight games down the stretch, still has bull in China shop mentality of see rim, attack rim, because he says, I'm going to get this done. Yeah. I'm going to run through that brick wall over there to victory, which is not always the best way.
But your guy won't even go in the China shop. At least my guy's a bull in China shop going wreck stuff. Ben Simmons. He won't even go in the China shop.
Well, I don't know.
I know. Well, he became unplayable.
He's averaged 8 rebounds
What did the coach say? What did the coach say about Ben Simmons?
I'm just talking about distributing, passing the basketball. Ben Simmons is a better passer, more natural, gifted passer than Russell Westbrook.
I mean, the guy averaged 11.5 assists, averaged 8.5 for a career. I can't tell.
Okay, well, I'm just saying the stats lie.
Yeah, they don't lie.
Yes, they do. And Dwight Howard, at his welcome to L.A. press conference that he had a couple of weeks back, he talked about how Russell Westbrook is underappreciated.
Yes, yes. Underappreciated by you and a lot of other people.
Really?
Yes, he has his flaws, Skip. Yes, he's flawed in a lot of ways. But let's not pretend he's a guy. He's not just a guy. He's not.
Was Russell Westbrook ultimately underappreciated by Kevin Durant? Big no on that, because Kevin Durant finally decided after 9 years with him, I can't win with that guy as my primary decision maker. I'm out of here. I will join forces. I don't care what any of you, I don't care what Shannon Sharpe says about me. I don't care if the internet just condemns me. Right. I'm going to Golden State because I fit in, because they know how to play basketball. Right. They know how to move the basketball, and they don't play selfish basketball. And I don't have to worry about what Steph and Clay and Draymond are going to do, because they get it. Well, Russ just doesn't get it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. The best player on the planet should be able to overcome that. That's what you told me about LeBron when he was unable to win titles. As the best player, he should overcome those flaws.
Here's where the game is rigged for the point guard. As you know, somebody gets to dribble the ball up the floor.
Yes.
How did Draymond and Kevin fall apart in Golden State?
Yes.
It was over who's going to get to dribble the ball up the floor. Remember that? Kevin saying, give it to me, let me dribble it up the floor. And Draymond said, I got this. I just got the rebound. I'm more of the distributor than you are, and here we went.
Right.
And you know what happened to that?
Right.
Okay, but the point was that Kevin felt completely handicapped. He felt almost like a prisoner of Russell's initial decision, because every time Russ is going to dribble the ball up the floor, well, then there's one decision that's going to get made immediately. I'm going to shoot it, or I'm going to let you shoot it, right? Mm-hmm. For the most part. Did they have some other play? Yeah, they did. But most of the shots are going to be shared by those two.
Right.
And where I went crazy, and Kevin went off on me at that, there was 1 year in Oklahoma City fairly early when Russell for the whole season took more shots than Kevin Durant. And I'm saying, these two, you can't do that to him. You're a terrible shooter, and he's an all-time great shooter.
Let me ask you a question. If the OKC Thunder had paid that extra $4 million a year to James Harden,
yep,
do you believe they could have won a title with Harden, Westbrook, and KD?
Well, okay, now let's go to James Harden. He tried 1 year of his buddy from way back to AAU days in Southern California.
No, I'm not talking about just the two of them. I'm talking about all three of them.
But remember, James tried it just with the two of them.
Yes.
And James, after 1 year, said, I can't take it. I need out of here. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he rejected Russell also, and then Russell rejected James. And
then guess what, Skip? He realized that he couldn't do it. So he realized, you know what? It's not Russ. It's not Chris Paul. Okay. I can't win a championship in Houston because guess what? He showed up and he didn't want to be in Houston anymore.
The answer to your question about the baby Thunder, would Russell ever have allowed James Harden to play point, to bring the ball up the floor? Because, listen, James blew me off my chair this year, watching game after game.
Right.
You want to talk about being able to distribute the basketball?
Oh, there was never doubt that I didn't think he could distribute the ball because he's led the NBA in assists. The question is, Skip, was he going to allow James Harden to flourish and take the shots? Would there have been enough shots to go around? Because I think as they've gotten older, they understand what it takes to play. But I think as a young, you're trying to make a name for yourself. You're not as willing to share as you are, as we are here. We are year 13, year 14. I think KD's in year 15.
Okay, so those three young players, it might have taken 3 or 4 more years, but if they had stayed together, they'd have enough scar tissue that at some point they'd all have one of those meetings like LeBron had with AD and Russ, and just say, what are we doing? Somebody's got to sacrifice here if we're ever going to get to the promised land, right? Maybe they could have. Maybe KD would have been enough of a leader at that point to talk enough sense into both of them that this is how we have to do this. But I wouldn't have liked my odds for the first 2 or 3 years.
Let's not pretend that Russ didn't get the Wizards to the playoff because Bradley Beal was hurt a lot this year.
He did.
He did that.
I got it. He's must see. I think I've watched 2/3 of the Wizards games this year just because I want to watch it.
Exactly.
Nobody plays harder on one end of the floor than Russell Westbrook has played.
Right.
He averages triple-double. He's done it, what now? We're up to 4 out of 5 years. He's averaged a triple-double. That's impossibly great, but it's solo act great. It doesn't ultimately contribute to winning big playoff games.
It will now.
Well, okay, LeBron is going to have to take back over the reins at crucial points in the game where he says, no, I got this. And Russ is going to have to say, okay, I defer. I back off. It's not in his nature to defer back off because I've never seen him do that before.
You want to win, right?
Okay, well, does he?
Yeah.
Does he want to star or win?
We want to win.
Now he's on the biggest stage he's ever been on and the stage he dreamed of being on, and he wants to own that stage. I don't know if he wants to own another banner. I think he just wants to own the stage.
No, hey, Skip, who's the most important Beatle?
Beatle?
Yeah.
Well, that's highly debatable.
It ain't no high. John Lennon.
Oh, well, just listen. There's a bunch of Paul McCartney.
I get that you like Paul McCartney.
I will agree with John Lennon on that, but it took me a long time to come to that conclusion.
Guess what? But Paul McCartney's still the Beatle. Ringo Starr.
Okay, but they were never as good apart as they were together.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we are. We about to be the Beatles.
The Beatles?
Yeah. Be great together.
I think Russ is going to have to be Ringo.
It don't matter. He's still a Beatle.
Well, is he?
Yes.
Well, he's a disruptive Beatle. He's a team-wrecking Beatle.
You know what? I think that's what you want to happen. You try to sabotage him.
I've seen too much. He's going into year 14. It's not like he's going into year 4 and, he'll grow up and figure this out. He's already grown up.
Figure it out. We're going to figure it out.
Okay, so we continue. So James said no, and then Paul George, after he had pledged allegiance to Russ on July the 4th of that year, remember they had the big party in Oklahoma City at Lake Kawasi. And then what happened, as soon as Kawhi said, I got an escape route for you here. You want to take it to come home and play with me? And he's like, please get me out of here. Right? And simultaneously, Russell is calling Kawhi saying, you want me?
Russ called first.
Okay, Russ called first, and Kawhi would not even return his calls. So it
was dirty, though.
Okay, it was dirty. I buy dirty. But it also was completely revealing that Kawhi Leonard said, I got a choice here. Paul George, Russell Westbrook. I'm not even going to return Russell Westbrook's calls. I want that guy. I can play with that guy because we can play off each other. The other guy I don't trust.
And guess what? He still had won a championship. So in order for you to make that decision, the correct decision, you're going to have to win.
Okay, so I just gave you Kevin Durant, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard all said no to the guy that LeBron finally said yes to.
That's all right.
Well, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so are all those guys wrong and LeBron's right?
No, Skip. We matured.
I mean, what is that screaming at you that LeBron made the biggest mistake of his career and he will regret it the rest of his career?
They had a diamond and didn't know what to do with it. We about to polish it up.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the diamond's going to be in control because you're saying he's going to be the point guard.
Shine this thing up and watch it sparkle. It's like, man, you did that with Russ. Sure did.
The diamond has a mind of its own. It's not just a diamond sitting there as a lump.
He understands that he got a lot of boxes, and a lot of boxes have been checked. The only box that hadn't been checked is that one that says champion. About to check that.
Okay, I told you this was a genius maneuver, a genius addition by LeBron James. At this point, what are we going into? Year 19. Year 19.
Yeah.
If he pulls it off with Russ, he can say, I did something all those guys didn't do, and it will really talk about polishing your resume. It would start to polish to even bring you into the conversation of GOAT. It would at least get you in the conversation.
Stop saying to get us in the conversation.
That's all it would do. It would just get you in the conversation. If you won a championship with that guy as your primary decision maker, I'd say, whoa. I'm impressed. Everybody would sit back and say. As far as the GOAT,
we in chapter 1. We're the first paragraph.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I would think so.
But here's the bailout of this whole genius move was number 2. If they don't win, if it does fall apart, then LeBron knows everybody will point the finger, not at LeBron, but at Russell Westbrook, because you want to talk about a lightning rod for criticism, he is number 1.
Let me ask you a question. So if it doesn't work out for the Brooklyn Nets, whose fault is it?
For the Brooklyn, well, nobody's ever condemned any one of those guys as you can't win with that guy, right? Maybe James, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, but James looks like he's swallowed his pride and deferred.
But Russ can't.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, then.
Better distributor, better passer. Would you rather have James Harden at point guard or Russell Westbrook? Help me out.
Who led the NBA in assists?
Okay, I don't care. That's a completely misleading.
It ain't misleading. Nothing misleading.
Yeah.
So hold on. So KD averaging 27 points a game is misleading. KD averaging had a triple-double in Game 5. That's misleading.
Well, it's not.
I love how everything is misleading when my guys do things great. Okay. It's misleading.
Well, it's not misleading. In this guy's case, it's fraudulent.
How is it fraudulent?
Well, because it got you nowhere. Where did it get you in the postseason? Did he take over the postseason? No, he can't.
Where did he get your guy?
Well, we're not talking about my guy. We're talking about your guy because he is your guy now.
And he's about to be on a championship winning team.
Okay, so for the last 5 years, Russell Westbrook's teams have lost in the first round. The only time they won a first round was in the bubble when they beat Oklahoma City, and Russ did not play. He played in only 3 of those games.
How far did James Harden teams go before he got with KD? How far Kyrie teams go by themselves?
Fair question, but I saw James Harden sacrifice like crazy last year in ways I did not think possible.
And that's what Russ is going to have to do. I believe he saw what James did, saw the success that team had. I believe he's going to be willing to do the exact same thing.
Okay, you did not answer my question.
What?
Better point guard, James Harden or Russell Westbrook? Right here, right now. Who do you want running your show? It's not even close. It's James Harden. Much more trustable, a better passer, better feel for the game. Okay, I do too. I'll take LeBron over those two any day. But you're telling me, that's why I started off, I had to get you on record, he will play off the ball more than he has his whole career, said Shannon.
You know
Sharpe.
what, Skip? We might play Russ at the 5 or the 4. It don't matter. He's on our team. We're going to win a championship. How about that? I don't want to get caught up in position where he's this or he's that. He's going to win.
He's going to play the 2 guard. He is the worst perimeter shooter of volume in the league. It's not even close. He is the worst from the 3, and he's the worst from the free throw line.
We're working on that right now.
You're in the lab?
As we speak.
Yeah, I hope you are, because I don't think LeBron's doing anything in the lab but abs. He's labs, abs, right?
Oh, we get that work in.
That's fine. But
we get
abs,
that work in.
Nobody ever made a free throw with abs. Nobody ever made it. The abs don't make free throws.
We what I got.
Touch, dude. Feel, confidence.
We what I got. Feel handy. We getting that thing right. Getting them. Yeah.
Handy.
Right
is
now.
handy. Right?
Yeah. Oh, you'll see.
Really?
You'll see. We got due on this 75%.
75%. I've already won that. You should just pay up. How many years have you done this to yourself?
3.
3 times.
Yep.
Way to go. Congratulations.
But see, you gave me 75.
Yeah.
See, the other one was like 80%.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they were. They were 85.
No,
they were 80%.
Like
nope.
75.
This is the first time we've been in the 70s. So I got 75%. Guarantee.
And
Bucket.
Here's what you got.
Bucket. You know, as a matter of fact, I might even go to Vegas and put me a couple of dollars down on this one.
Shakiest gun in the West belongs to LeBron James at the free throw line.
You're a hater.
Yep. A truth teller.
You a hater. 75, I know you got that one, Skip.
Do you really?
Yeah.
How about Russ 75? You want that bet?
No, I want no part of that.
Thank you.
No mercy.
Tonight on FS1, the MLS All-Star Game takes center stage as Major League Soccer's biggest stars go up against the best of Liga MX. The action kicks off tonight at 9 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Ezekiel Elliott has already made it clear he plans to bounce back this season. His actions have aligned so far, coming into camp lighter after improving his diet. He also has looked good through training camp, including this highlight reel of him making quick cuts of Hard Knocks last night. So Shannon, does Zeke's practice video indicate he'll have a bounce-back season?
No, I just don't see him. I don't view him as being the workhorse back that he once was, Skip. The 20, 25 carries, sometime occasionally 30 carries a game. Zeke has almost 1,500 carries. Nobody has as many carries as Zeke in the last 5 years. And there are a couple of other things that's in place. You got a $40 million quarterback, a $20 million receiver, and you took a receiver last year in the first round. I think Zeke's role has changed in this offense. Also, Ty Smith, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, injury-plagued seasons. They're not the same guys they once were. So when you put all of that together, no, I do not see the season that you envision for him. Do I think he can get 1,000 yards? Yes. But I think what you're thinking is the Zeke that you saw the first 3 years of his career, when 2 of those 3 years he led the league in rushing.
Yep.
I do not see that Zeke bouncing back.
Okay. I will be the first to admit it was only practice video that I saw courtesy of NFL Films on Hard Knocks last night. But Mr. Sharpe, as big a fan as I am, it just took my breath away. That was 2016 Zeke that you were seeing on tape. That was sleek Zeke because he has slimmed down and shaped up. It looks like he's in far better shape even than he was in 2016 when he dominated the sport of professional football. He did so in 2017 also. And then he became a shell of himself because he obviously averaged that first year, 2016, 109 rush yards a game, fell all the way to 65 last year, which was just pathetic. His 20-plus yard runs in 2016, 14 of those. Last year, 3 20-plus yard runs. I just kept saying, what happened? Where did he go? Because ever since he got his money, as I told you, he was holding out in Cabo San Lucas. It looked like he was still running in Cabo Sand when he got back. It looked like he got his money and he just semi-retired.
Well,
that's how it came across to me until then.
How does Zeke bounce back when the offense doesn't rely on Zeke like it once did? Now you ask more of Dak. Now you have these offensive weapons. You have a $20 million receiver in Amari Cooper. You took CeeDee Lamb. You have Michael Gallup. I believe his role is changing in this offense. So you can't expect the guy to do the same when he's going to give him less opportunity to do that.
What did Drew Brees always preach when he was in New Orleans.
Yes.
We had to balance it up.
Yes.
When we got out of balance, we had bad years. When they went 50-50, they went and won a Super Bowl. Remember, we had him on the show and we talked to him about it. We broke it down.
Right.
That was our best year.
That was running back by committee. They had no one dominant back.
This guy can be a dominant back. And I don't care what you say. I'm just eye-testing what I saw last night. He was trying to sort of show off a little bit for that kid, what's his name, Jaquan Hardy, that they kind of featured last night because he's having a contact lens issue. But he was trying to show him this is how you do it. And I sat back and said, there he is. Haven't seen him for 2 years now. Right. And that's the guy that I want to see in games instead of that guy in 2019 at Chicago waving out of a game after he ran for 25 yards.
Can you remember the last time somebody won a Super Bowl with a dominant back? Most of the teams, the Patriots, have always been by committee.
In Denver. You remember these teams in Denver?
That's so long, Skip. That was 20-plus years ago.
It's prehistoric.
Yeah,
okay, right.
But recently, I mean, you think about it. The Patriots, running back by committee. The Eagles, running back by committee.
But they were balanced. Yeah. Were they not balanced?
But, Skip,
especially the Patriots, they just ran the heck out of it.
Right.
I know it's by committee, but Sony Michel, who's no longer a Patriot today, got traded.
Remember my call?
You kept saying, okay, but
be the odd
they
man
had
out.
Rex Burkhead, and they had all kinds of James White would carry.
But here's the thing. In order for Zeke to bounce back, you can't have a running back by committee. He's going to have to get the
They got a pretty good 1A in Tony Pollard, who has looked sensational in the preseason. So
how is Zeke going to have a bounce-back season when he's averaging 15 carries a game?
Because did you see that? Did you see the explosion? Did you see the quickness? I haven't seen that in 2 long years. A sight for sore eyes.
How about that? Okay.
That's that guy.
I got 2 cases. He don't run like that September 9th.
Well, you're going against the best defense in pro football.
You said that's the old Zeke. It didn't matter. Okay. The old 2016 Zeke didn't matter who he went up against.
All right, I'll bet you 10 cases his numbers are better at the end of this season than they were at the end of last season.
I hope he gets more than 65 yards a game.
Well, I'm just saying.
But no.
I see bell cow. I see workhorse. I see domination right there. That guy, by the way, he cleaned up his diet. He got a nutritionist. He got a cook.
So in other words, instead of getting the Big Mac and the chicken nuggets.
I did have to watch you eat a piece of candy last night. I said, don't put that in your mouth.
So in other words, instead of getting the Big Mac and the chicken nuggets, he get the chicken sandwich on.
Well, he had double chin for a while. I was like, who is that guy?
You told me he's going back to 2016 Zeke.
I did. That looked like 2016. Did you see the burst?
In case he don't get 2016 numbers.
Well, 2016 is like off the charts. He's like rookie of the year.
No, Dak was.
Well,
I know, but he could have been.
Before we make any decisions on how fit he looks.
No mercy.
Former Titans running back Chris Johnson made a very bold claim to TMZ Sports. The lightning quick running back said he is the fastest NFL player ever and that he would have dusted any other legend had they all lined up in their prime. Since Shannon, you are in the Hall of Fame, I have to ask you, which player do you believe was the fastest ever?
What are we running, Skip? Because that's going to, are we running 40, 60, or 100 meters? Because I know a guy that can say I was the fastest man in the world. That's Bob Hayes in 64. He won the 100-meter dash, Skip. He said, not just the NFL, the world. So I need to know what we're running because he can have a compelling case, but Darryl Green could run. Deion could run.
Thank you.
So I need to know what we're going to run. And Skip, the kid, Chris Johnson, could fly. But if we're running a 40-yard dash, I'm probably going to take one of these other guys over Chris Johnson, over CJ.
I don't know if we're talking about in pads or we're talking about the fastest man ever to play pro football. Right. If it's that guy, I'm going with prime. I'm going with prime time, as in neon Deion Sanders, because I know that once upon a time, it's not apocryphal that he just showed up at the combine. They said, you want to run? He said, I don't know. Well, go ahead.
He wasn't supposed to run.
He just took his tracksuit off and he didn't even warm up and ran 4.2. I saw him with my own. I also saw Bob Hayes just run through people, one by people. But listen, Deion, in his first 4 or 5 years in the league, he was just electric fast.
Yeah, Skip, I need to know what we're going to run. Chris Johnson has a compelling case. Don't count out Tyreek now.
I like the confidence. I mean, geez.
But a 40-yard dash, I think I might take Prime or maybe Sam Grady.
I had a feeling you'd take Prime there. All right, that is it for Undisputed. Skip, Shannon, great stuff today. We're back same time tomorrow. The Herd is on now. Have a good day.